Today's show is all about breaking the silence on sickle cell disease. We have a fabulous show with some amazing guests, and we are going to learn about sickle cell disease. What is it? How do you get it? How do you test for it? How do you live with it? And then we want to take away the shame and the stigma so that you can live your best life. I have some amazing guests, Miss Ernestine, Mickey Thompson, and Miss LaWanda. Give me your last name.
Bragg Smith.
Braggs Smith. And so, get your life, fam. Let's welcome Wanda and Mickey to Get Your Life.
Hello.
Thank y'all for coming on the show today. I want to start off with how in the world did you become like sickle cell advocates? What happened in your life that made this important for you? So we'll start with Mickey.
Okay. I became a sickle cell advocate, educator, a lot based on my healthcare profession also. But because I was we had a family that had children that had sickle cell and also sickle cell traits. So it was trying to learn about it, how to help our children, how to, when the crisis came about, because you heard, sickle cell patients have crisis. What did that mean?
Right.
And some of my profession overlapped into it because when they would call me and they would say, "Oh, she's sickling in her lung." Oh, that was right down my alley. And when they started to talk about treatments that they were putting her on, these are treatments that we were using with adults.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is a child, this is a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it was learning about it. It was a personal thing. And my thing is, one of my grandkids was a what we call full blown sickle cell patient who had a bone marrow transplant. Watch what you pray for.
Right.
Because when we found out that she was diagnosed with sickle cell and she was going through the treatments and going through the chronic pains and stuff, and they talk about she got to go on morphine, I'm like, hold up.
Right.
That's what we give adults.
Right.
But to me, that opened up my eye to let me know the severity of the pain that they were having.
Right.
So learning more about that,
Mm-hmm.
but what's available, what's out there, how do we help? And family, it puts a lot on the families.
Right.
Because when you have a kid that's in the hospital and you got kids outside, taking care of the kids outside and learning what needs to be done with them. But I prayed when she, was diagnosed with it, and I said, God, please give us a cure for sickle cell. And God did just that.
He did. And a lot of times we pray for some help, and he did that in you.
Yes,
and so that's probably also how you became an advocate. So Miss Wanda, tell us how you started your sickle cell advocacy journey.
Well, my oldest daughter, she'll be 23 in August. She's a senior at LSU. She has sickle cell SS. And I knew that I had a trait. So at birth, I asked the nursing staff when they were doing her PKU, to test her for trait. And the nurse asked me why. And I said, because I have trait and I need to know if she have trait and what to tell her. So when they came back, they said, it looks like she has sickle cell disease. And I looked at her dad because I asked him, and he said, no, nobody ever mentioned anything. And he was almost 27 when he found out he had trait. So she had the disease, and her pediatric doctor, Dr. Dorsey Goolsby, he told me, you can know whatever we know. We're only doctors. And he started feeding me information, sites to go to learn. And that's where my advocacy began. Because I started researching, I started learning, I started asking questions and going to the conventions to find out how can I be the best advocate for my daughter.
Right.
What does this disease look like?
Right.
And later, I realized that my grandmother on my dad's side had sickle cell. Wow. I knew that she would always be cold, and I knew she would be little. But I didn't understand what it was.
Right.
Until my daughter had it. Wow. And I said, oh my gosh. So that's the start of my journey. My youngest daughter was an athlete, and one day she was 6, and they asked, and she was an elite track and field athlete, and they said, "Why do you run?" And she said, "I run because my sister can't run."
Wow.
And that's how the organization was birthed, because her name was Courtney Vega. Her name is Courtney Vega. So the name of the organization is to honor the athletic sacrifice. The advocacy is for my oldest daughter, and the education is because I've been an educator for almost 25 years.
Amen. Well, tell us, since you mentioned the organization, tell us what the name of the organization is.
It's Courtney Vega Sports Athletic Foundation. Courtney Vega Foundation, again, it raises awareness for sickle cell disease, advocacy, support of families. I did get certified as a sickle cell education counselor so that I can help the families
Yes.
that don't have a voice, the parents who's scared and don't know,
Right.
because I was that parent. So, and any information that comes our way, I am HIPAA certified as well. So we're required to hold their information. It's not a gossip session, it's a support session.
Mhm.
And we don't have to be afraid
Right.
to know.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing about us and our African American communities, the Black communities.
Mhm.
We don't necessarily, or in the past, have not necessarily shared
Mhm.
our health concerns, share our health issues. Sometimes we like to give cute names to some big diseases. And so we hear sickle cell. So either one of you can tell us, the audience, what is sickle cell disease? What is that?
Sickle cell is a genetic blood disorder, and it's where your normal red blood cells, that's normally shaped like a circle, they don't reproduce themselves. They die off within 120 days. And when, as Mickey stated, in crisis, the cells become like icicles. They become hard and tough, and it's hard to travel through the veins.
Mhm.
And that's where the crisis come. A crisis can happen anywhere in the body. And my daughter had a silent stroke due to crisis. But the sickle cell is not something that you can catch. It's genetic, it's passed down. Also, sickle cell can be found in ancestors from Central America, South America, Saudi Arabia. It started in the Mediterranean when they was searching for a cure for malaria. It didn't even have a name until 1910 when James Herrick actually identified a name to it. Individuals from Greece, Turkey, Italy, all have their ancestors can all have sickle cell, and that's the misconception,
Right.
because they say it's a Black disease.
Yes.
It is not. And alpha thalassemia, beta thalassemia, all of that is sickle cell.
Right.
But they would never say it's sickle cell. It's so many different forms that sickle cell entails, but it's only a 25% chance that a child can have sickle cell disease with two parents that have trait.
Okay.
You have, each parent can pass a normal gene
Mm-hmm.
and the child have nothing, like my youngest daughter. Or you have 50% chance for trait, because one parent can pass a sickle gene and one can pass a normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then if both parents pass the sickle, that's the 25% chance that child will have disease.
Okay, so Mickey, I'm going to ask you. Wanda talked about the parents having a trait. How in the world do we know if we have a trait? Do we get tested for it? Is it something we should ask the doctors for? So tell me, how would I know if I have a sickle cell trait or not?
You would have to probably ask your doctor to test you for it. It is a blood test. Back in the year, back in the days, we were mandated to be tested for sickle cell traits. Then they stopped, and now you don't see the mandate occurring. So when you have two parents, which was in our family's case, with the trait, your chances of one of your children coming out with what we call full-blown sickle cell disease is great. but we had one with the sickle cell disease, the full blown, and two with traits.
Okay. So you, because of your family's history,
Mhm.
you guys knew to
Mhm.
ask for the test, right?
Later, they were
Okay.
already sickle cell.
Okay.
I mean, they knew, but to say actually be tested for it, we weren't really asking it to that level. But they did know. Because
Right.
back in the day, I mean, we grew up with families that had 6 or 7 children that had traits
Right.
in the family. You know, we just didn't talk about it much. We didn't educate ourselves much, or we didn't know.
Right.
We just didn't know.
So what does that conversation? So I meet a guy, I meet somebody I like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and we're digging on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that conversation look like? Hey, you got sickle cell in your family? Like what? How do you bring that up?
Well, you can start by saying and being honest.
Mhm.
I like you. I know that we're moving forward. I haven't had any knowledge of sickle cell. Have you had any knowledge of sickle cell? Anybody talk about it in your family? If both of you say no, then you can ask, okay, let's go get tested together. And that is a simple blood test.
Mhm.
And the blood test is called the hemoelectrophoresis test. They have to run it through a specific scan to find sickle cell. It'll be the percentage, it'll tell you if you have trait or not. Just the peace of mind of knowing is beyond measure. So just let's go do it together.
Right. I
And
like that.
then it won't be, well, I want you to do it, but I'm not gonna do it with
Right.
you. Let's go. It's a simple blood test and we both will know for sure.
I like that. And it's not scary when you don't have to do
No.
it by yourself.
Mhm.
So then my other question, if I don't know. So we have people that don't know their parents, people
Mhm.
that were adopted and things
Mhm.
like that. So is that something that I can just go ask my primary care and I'll say, you know, I'm adopted or
Mhm.
I don't know my dad or whatever. Can I get the sickle cell test, or is that something that you have to know somebody in the genetic line that had it?
No, when you go to your primary care and you get your annual blood work,
Yes.
you can ask them, can you run a test for sickle cell?
Mhm.
A lot of them are going to ask you why. A lot of them are going to say, no, we can't. Some physicians have even said, oh, the insurance won't pay for it.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes, they will. It is the same blood test that they test for glucose
Mhm.
and everything else. The same blood sample. They just run it through a different scan.
Mhm.
Ask the primary physician, and it's the same stick.
Mhm.
You don't have to have a specific
Definition.
test. You don't have to
Right.
have. They can prick the finger, and they can run it.
Mhm.
But that hemoelectrophoresis test can be done, and it can be ordered by a primary physician.
Mhm.
That you don't have to have any history.
Mhm.
And when they ask why, because I need to know.
Because I want to know. I was going to say
That's
that.
it. I wanna
So
know.
I just want to know. And it sometimes we always say we have to be our own advocates
Mhm.
Yes.
because sometimes the doctors will tell you no, and sometimes the insurance will tell you no.
No.
But it's
Mhm.
just like you said, I want to know.
Mhm.
I want to know for my family. I want to know for my children.
Mhm.
So my next question to you, Mickey, and you both have family members that have sickle cell, and you can both chime in and play off of this.
Mhm.
What are the symptoms? So you said you didn't in your family do the testing until later. What symptoms are there of sickle cell disease?
Well, the disease, the sickle cell disease itself is the crisis, it's the pain, it's the fevers that you can have, and it's that going back to the doctor and this is the thing, becoming an advocate for yourself and as a parent.
Right.
No, this is not right. We need to continue. We need to find what is going on. Like in my grandson's case, and he's my fallen warrior,
And what's his name? Tell everybody.
Marvin Jackson Jr. He had the sickle cell trait.
Mhm.
And the myth we had with that was if you have a sickle cell trait, you're okay.
Mhm.
So there was
So that
nothing
means
else you
you're not
needed
going
to
to get
do.
it. That's what
Yeah.
people think.
There's
That's
no
what they think.
pain.
That's what they
There's no
think.
problem.
That's
You
what they
don't go through the same types of experiences that the actual full sickle cell patient does. With him, when he came, I had never heard of the type of cancer that he developed, which is a very rare form of cancer due to the fact that he had the sickle cell trait.
Okay.
The fact that he was 25 to 30, African American male,
Mm-hmm.
okay, with the signs and the symptoms: blood in the urine, pain in the kidney area in the back. It's called renal medullary carcinoma. And I had never heard of that. And I was in healthcare, I was just blown away with it. So in telling the doctors what it was, they didn't know either.
Wow.
And the way it's a story behind how it occurred and how we actually got the final diagnosis of it. Thank God, again, prayer.
Mm-hmm.
He brought him to me at the hospital where there was a new pathologist who had heard of it and experienced it in her clinical rotation. And the battery of questions that she asked me helped us to be directed to the fact that this is what he had.
Wow.
Okay. Unfortunately, not being educated, and this is why I advocate for it. Education, please learn more, dig into it. The fact that he was the age group, okay, by the time they diagnosed it, he was already in a stage 4,
Wow.
metastasized or had spread it to other organs in his body.
Wow.
Had we found it earlier, there would have been more that we could do.
More treatment or something.
Yeah.
Did you want to have different? Do you have different symptoms that your daughter experienced?
Well, sickle cell looks different for everyone because it's individualized. But as Mickey stated, some of the crises could be the pain crisis. Some of them can be stroke. The males, they can suffer from priapism. They need blood transfusions as treatment in order to be corrected from priapism. Learning disabilities, organ failure. It's so many different things.
Right.
Acute chest syndrome, microplasma pneumonia. It's so many symptoms, but just looking at someone, I actually printed out documents each year to take to my daughter's teachers. Extreme fatigue. If you see the jaundice, the yellowing of the eyes, if they ask to go to the restroom a lot, if they need to drink more water, it's just little things that you say, well, wait, something's going on.
Right.
And just have a concern to ask. Because it's so many symptoms to
Missing
sickle
school,
cell.
missing so many days in schools. And one of the things, in talking with LaWanda, one of the things we can really do is, as parents and being that advocate for our children, talk to the teachers. Every year they go to school, talk to the teachers so they'll know that she is a sickle cell trait or she has sickle cell, what to expect. Call me, let me know so I could follow it up at home.
Right.
A lot of things. And in Khadijah's case, she did miss a lot of days in school because, again, she sickled in the lung a lot, but there were other places. There were a lot of transfusions.
Yes.
So there are signs and there are symptoms. Hematologists. The hematologists are very important in cases with sickle cell. And
so it seems like what I'm hearing you saying, it takes a village.
It does.
It takes a village.
It
so
does.
You need your doctors on board.
Yes.
You need the teachers on board. You need the advocates on board.
Yes.
You need the counselors on board.
Yes.
And like in your grandson's case, just somebody to talk to about how I'm feeling. And it seems like you said, with all the different symptoms, the things you name gave me thoughts of other diseases.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Being an advocate and telling them to test can help you weed out some of those other things. Because just listening to what you said, it does sound like other diseases.
Yes.
So, what does the treatment look like? And I know since your grandson has passed, there have been advanced